Zuckerberg likes me this week. BYBBA, with his gold chain and his new masculine energy. BYBBA. Woohoo. Right. Let me just make sure that the live stream is up and running. Hungan. Oh yeah, Hungan. There we are. We are live on YouTube. We are live on Facebook. Right.
What's the link for it?
You'll find it on Fanatsu Podcast. Hold on. Oh, let me make sure we go live on Instagram now. Click. There we go. And now we are about to go live on Instagram as well. All right. And so, hafade todos hamzu guanao hudzung estige un nuevo na episode Fanatsu. Hafade, wahui host midzu tatlu si Michaelu Hanbavakwa. And this is, I'm happy to be inviting back. I think this is his third time on the podcast. Might be his fourth time, his third time. Regardless, somebody please get him a Subway sandwich for his punch card. He has been on Fanatsu a few times already, but that is really because Farron Taijeron, the Guam guy, does incredible stuff. And so you may know him because of the content that he puts out there on a variety of topics, but he is here with us today to talk about a topic which is of incredible importance. It's something which is part of our culture. It's part of Chamorro culture, but it's part of Micronesian culture. It's part of island culture here. Fishing. It's part of how we sustain ourselves. It's part of how people in the Pacific have sustained themselves for millennia. But it's also something which we don't associate necessarily. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't associate with being a risky endeavor. But some studies and some analysis of the risks involved with spearfishing show that in the past 8 years, several dozen, somewhere around 30, 28,
29.
or 29, excuse me, 29 spearfishers have died while fishing around Guam's waters. And so when we think about Guam, we have some people say we have the tallest peak because of Mount Lamlam and the Marianas Trench. They used to say that we used to have the biggest McDonald's, in the world. For a time period, Guam was the most perilous place on the planet for Jesuit and priests because of the Chamorro-Spanish Wars. But given those statistics about spearfishers, Guam is also a dangerous place for those who are trying to support their families, who are trying to put food on the table, those who are trying to support the visitor industry by making sure that there's food in our restaurants, And so what Farron is out here and what he is doing on his most recent project is he is promoting the BYBBA. But BYBBA spelled a little bit differently. BYBBA, BYBBA. And so, Farron, I'm excited. This is a new water safety system, 12 steps. And so, Farron, before we get into this, though, I want to thank you again for coming on Fanatsu. Let's give you a chance, though, to just introduce yourself. And then let's jump right into BYBBA. So go ahead and introduce yourself for those who may not be familiar with you.
Sure, thanks. So my real name is Farron Taijeron Milingolu, and on social media I go by the Guam guy. So if you see me on the street, please say hi. You're never interrupting me. I always like to hear feedback. If you say like, "Oh, hey, are you the Guam guy?" That's cool. If you say hi, Farron, I get a little disturbed because I'm like, "Oh no, have we met or are we related?" And I don't remember. I'm sure you get that way more often than I do, Baguette. um, and so online, my content is mostly about anything to do with the environment or adventure, or especially where those two things intersect, or where I and my crew make them intentionally intersect. For example, we started a civic organization called the Guam Extreme Cleanup Crew a few years ago during or the tail end of the pandemic. And we're free divers, we're scuba divers, we're rock climbers, we're drone pilots, we're all kinds of outdoor enthusiasts. And we decided to use our skills for good and clean up places on the island that are hard to access that probably few people can get to and go about doing so safely. And so that's very much in line with both sides of the spectrum of the content that I like to make, environmental stuff and outdoor safety stuff. And that kind of very naturally led to water safety, spearfishing safety, and that was the impetus for the BYBBA spearfishing safety campaign. BYBBA, as we like to say in our language and culture, but spelled differently, as Miguel pointed out, BYBBA, meaning bring your buddy back alive. And I hope the screen is not flipped. uh, so that's me.
Oh, Claro, Jesus Mase. No, I love that. I love that. Bring your buddy back alive. Hungan. And I like the emphasis on your buddy night instead of the beer. You know, people think BYB a lot of times, bring your cerveza, bring your beer. But I love that. Bring your buddy back alive. Hungan. And so this is a you know, and so if you are watching, we've already got some people that are tuning in, some people that are saying Hafaday Guam guy, Hafaday Farron. And so please, if you've got comments for Farron, if you've got comments about the BYBBA system, about spearfishing, especially if you are a fisher, you know, be sure to comment. We're streaming on Instagram, on Facebook, and on YouTube. But so so first off, you showed a wonderful shirt there. And so I know that you are planning, one of the ways that you are doing outreach is through social media and through merch. And so
Yes.
I'm gonna throw up right now your Instagram page. And so talk to us about the ways that you are, before we get into the details of the system specifically, talk about the ways that you're
Mhm.
getting the message out there.
So the ways I'm getting the message out there is we have produced uh, 12 videos of tips of how to be safer out in the water. And to hope that more people watch them or buy into the system, I've printed 200 of these custom-made rash guards, and I'm giving them away all for free. None of them are for sale. I can't sell them for legal and ethical reasons. I got a funder to pay for it. And so now my only recourse is to give them out for free, either random selection and comments in the videos, and or mini contests that I'll be doing. And so when I post the videos, I post them on Mondays in the mornings. And when I get to the videos about how to do rescue stuff with victims having hypoxia of various degrees, I'll have mini contests for, okay, go out with your buddy, pretend someone is having hypoxia, and make a video of you rescuing them according to what I've shown you in this video. And I'll pick my favorite ones and I'll give those people shirts. So video production and shirt giveaways.
You know, I don't want to be stereotypical, but Chamorros like shirts. Chamorros
Absolutely.
like shirts. And I hold myself accountable. I'm not excluding myself from that stereotype. I like
Mhm.
shirts. I mean, I have like 5 pairs of shorts and I have 600 shirts. And you can
It,
my partner Desiree can attest to that. She's like, "Hey, maybe we want to get rid of some of these shirts." And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. We're good, we're good."
I just the other day, my own wife is like asked me to, part ways with some of the shirts that are from, I don't know how many years, but at least 40 pounds ago, and I'm never gonna get back into those. So I decided to go ahead and let them go. But yeah, if you're still queuing things up, I'd like to just make some acknowledgments about where this all started and came from. During the pandemic, there was a Zoom call, as everybody was doing, right? And there was a bunch of spearfishers, prominent and maybe not so well known, on the Zoom call. We had Mo from Mosa's, Professor Dr. Mike Orr from the University of Guam. Uh, I believe Ray from Fanui was on the call. The Laguatnias, senior and junior, Ron Laguatnia senior and junior, and we're like, hey guys, people we keep losing our kids to the water. We keep like, young or old, we keep losing spearfishers. So what are we gonna do about this? How can we go about saving lives and, just spreading knowledge out there? And so this is a result of that call. And I'm like, I am a professional instructor. And so I do my best to teach my students, but I've always felt a little bit guilty that my knowledge and the training I offer is set behind a paywall, which a lot of us can't afford. Even though my class is like either I think it's like the second cheapest class you'll find in the world, the other one being in Thailand. I still always feel a little guilty. And so I'm like, what, I'll just make some videos and I can do that. The original inception of the project had more prongs to it, had more avenues I wanted to go down, but there's only so much I was willing to do and could do legally and ethically. And so I decided to just make videos and and kind of curate the content that comes from myself as a professional freediver and the international freediving community, and also local spearfishers who've been doing it much, much longer and has been in their generations for family. And so kind of curating the knowledge that's on offer from the broader spectrum of formal training and traditional training. And so that's where we are.
Wow, c'est doucement c'est. Oh, c'est doucement c'est. No, I love that. And I I do want to ask, what has the response been from fishers, from the fishing community so far, as you've put out some of this content and some of these videos? Because, I think sometimes people might feel that these tips are very welcome, but sometimes people might feel kind of set in their ways. They've done things a certain way for a long time, and when they might look at you and say, Hadziesti Farron, Hadziesti Guam guy.
True, true, true.
But then they might also look at you and say, "Hey, the Guam guy is telling me can kusinyat the selfie night? Can we get a picture with the Guam guy? I'll send it to my kids in the States." Or what has the response been as you've kind of shared this? Has it been positive? Because, I think a lot of, when one of the things that's striking to me is that every time somebody dies on the road, in a car accident, the PDN or the post updates us on how many people have died in a traffic fatality.
Hmm.
But they don't always keep track of how many people in a year have died at sea, or they don't have that same running count, like how many
Hmm.
fishers have passed away. So a lot of times, like what you were mentioning about those that where the genesis of this idea came from, a lot of it is the fishing community feels it, the fishing community knows it, but the wider community may not be thinking about it. And so that's why, but so yes, how has the response been?
So far, of anyone who's commented or messaged me or said anything, it's all been positive. People have been receptive. I think I um, may have positioned myself over these last number of years with the positions that I take and the content that I produce, that I have nothing but good intentions, and I think I've earned some trust in that. So people have been saying nice things universally so far. That said, it hasn't quite been adopted. I've only released 3 videos of tips plus an announcement video, and so I'm only a quarter of the way through the campaign. I got 12 videos in total, well, 13 including the announcement, so we're only a quarter of the way through it. And so I think some people are, our cultures, we're kind of reserved, right? We like to sometimes wait and see how things shake out before we're into it or not. And so I'm just uh trying to give a respectful distance and time for people to discover everything that I'm proffering. And again, I'm not again, but this is a curation. The videos are a curation of the broader wisdom and knowledge from the freediving community and the local spearfishing community. And so almost nothing I say is original or is really my opinion. I'm kind of repackaging this information into easy to digest 2-minute videos. And so far, it's been good. People have been supportive, and some people have just been kind of quiet and just hanging back. And just looking forward to bringing more people on board with bringing your buddy back alive campaign.
Oh, BYBBA. So let's
BYBBA.
oh, exactly, Hungan. So let's actually check out the first video the first video
Sure.
in series. Okay, Naizun Ratu, and we've already got Ron Laguatnia, who is featured in one of the videos. He's tuned in. He says Mauleki Tsetsotmo. He says good work. He's praising you for the work that you are doing. So here we go. Once again, so remember, once again, if you don't already follow Farron, the Guam guy, on Instagram, I highly recommend it, not just because of his water safety tips, the BYBBA system that he's promoting right now, but because of his other content, the other projects that he's doing too. If the environmental awareness that he brings, the scientific awareness, the cultural awareness, it's all fantastic content in general. So if you don't already follow the Guam guy, you definitely should be following the Guam guy. And so
You dive too deep, too long, or have to fight a fish, it can push you to the edge or over it. In many of these cases, a buddy will be able to help you fix a problem you can't fix alone. A good buddy system means one up, one down, regular communication, and staying vigilant. This also includes time at the surface. When your diver comes back up, watch them for a good 30 seconds to a minute to make sure they're all good, because oxygenation continues to decline until fresh oxygen has time to make its way around the body and the brain.
Yeah, and if you've been spearfishing for a while, then you know people who passed away because their buddy was 50 yards away, or they didn't wait long enough for their buddy to recover.
There's a common misconception that people know their limits. The problem is a dive within limits one day might result in a blackout on another. It depends on a lot of factors like how much sleep you got, your hydration, what you ate and when, and how many dives you're doing, and so on.
Yeah, and aside from your own physiology, it's things like rough water, wildlife, entanglement. It can all go wrong, and having a buddy there to save you when you can't save yourself.
So don't just enter the water together. Stay together and always participate in an active buddy system, and always bring your buddy back alive.
Well, you got to give daily love to your loved ones. Many were lost in the past. Give them the gift of a conversation. Make every moment last. Life gets hard, got to stay strong. Family and friends wanna see you thrive. Live like you're on a permanent vacation, no matter where you are in life.
Oh. And if anyone's just more listening than watching, I want to read what was on screen while that music was playing. Shout out to Keo Ray and Ryan Shook, by the way, for lending their music to that video. So it said there's this problem that we see. It's like when your buddies go out or meet up, let's say, we'll have someone's like who's more experienced or maybe more talented or both, and they want to spearfish 50, 60 feet. And they're out with some newer guys who are maybe sticking around 15, 20, 30 feet. And they're like, we're just going to let you do your thing because we can't go that deep. So might as well just let you go, on your own. And so I totally understand where people are coming from with that. But part of this campaign is to educate why there's a better way. For example, 99% of hypoxia, whether it's LMC or Samba, as more people know it, or full-on shallow water blackout, 99% of those happen either at the surface or on the way to the surface in the last 15 feet. So odds are, if someone's going to need assistance, if they're going to need to be rescued, it's going to be at the surface or shallower than 15 feet. So even if you can't go 50, 60 feet, it's still better that you're there than not. And so that's a longer explanation than what was than what was on the video, but that's some of the most basic and crucial knowledge that and misconceptions that we're trying to overcome and educate people on.
No, that is a very, very important no, thank you for pointing that out, because even for me, that I wasn't aware of that. That wouldn't be my assumption. And so, seeing that it makes sense now that you've kind of pointed that out, it makes perfect sense. But without you pointing that out, I wouldn't have assumed that. I would have just assumed that it happens, the deeper, of course, but what, and so, yeah, I like this, for me as somebody who, is a historian and then studies the impact of colonization on Chamorro people. Uh, I'm all about ways in which we can use education to reconnect us to our natural resources,
Mhm.
because we've talked about this before, about how, one of the things that the Spanish commented on is that Chamorros were excellent divers and excellent swimmers, you know, uh, just incredible. And it was something that, that they really remarked on, is that when they would trade, sometimes pieces of metal would fall into the water, and Chamorros would dive down deep and grab it, small pieces, big pieces, and then even heavy pieces where the Spanish would assume there's no way they could get that, and Chamorros would swim up with it and like shock the Spanish. Um, and so, but part of it was, this connection and this familiarity with the water, and not just being around the water, but, being connected and knowing it. And so, and nowadays for those of us, who live in Guam, we live near the water all the time. Not everyone has a private beach, but we're always close to the water. We're always pretty close to the water. But we don't necessarily have that type of same awareness and connection to the water like our ancestors did, or Chamorros in the past
Mhm.
did. And so, and that's kind of one of the things about colonization. And so I love the way that we can educate, and we can use medical knowledge, scientific knowledge, cultural knowledge. We can learn from other people in the Pacific, but the education can come in many forms, but it's all about understanding and learning something that our ancestors, they may have built up this knowledge over hundreds or thousands of years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we're back to that. And so, that's what I love about, some of the stuff that you're bringing out, is it's educating us to think of the water as not just the background for our selfies, you know, even though it is a great background. I definitely prefer it to cornfields. But but
Yeah, I'm with you all there. I'm all with you there. I often do wonder, like, what else did we lose, through all the through colonization? Like, what I'm guesstimating it was about 150 years we weren't allowed or to have like sailing canoes, more or less, and we lost traditional seafaring knowledge, which is is it is it Rob Ekfaji? I'm struggling on the last name, but that's why
oh, and Rob Lim Tialco was
Bob, yeah, thank you.
first.
Yes. So
That's
that's
right. I
why he
really
went to Micronesia to, get trained in seafaring, traditional seafaring, because we lost that knowledge here. And so I wonder if there's an analog for that with freediving and spearfishing or underwater foraging of any kind. Like, man, what did we used to know that we might have lost now? For example, there's a Polynesian word for the bends for decompression illness. It's called taravana. I wonder if we had a word for it too. If uh if we had a word for decompression illness or shallow water blackout or anything like that. In the Philippines, they used to make goggles, like swimming goggles, with lenses you could see out of. They would take the shell, like the scale that would fall off the turtle shell. They would, polish that down, make it clear, and have a seal it up, maybe like glue the sap from the lemai tree, and then make functional swimming goggles so they could see better underwater. And so I really wonder, like, what did we have and what did we used to know that we've lost? But, maybe we'll never get it back directly, and that's okay, but we can always rebuild, start over again, learn from our Pacific and international siblings, and piece together our tradition, what remains of our traditional knowledge, and new formal knowledge. It's not an either or thing. We can, adopt the best practices of everything.
Pungan, most definitely, most definitely. And so, actually, I wanted to share something with you, in what we were talking about. This is the Boxer Codex from 1590. And so I don't know if people can see it here. It's one of the earliest so the Boxer Codex is these are meant Chamorros in their canoes. And so obviously these canoes are definitely not historically accurate, or they're not accurate in many ways. And
Maybe
neither me or
anyways.
Farron, so neither me or neither Farron or I are advocating that these be placed on the Guam seal or Guam flag. But one of the things to note, though, is because it was such a common thing, because the Boxer Codex is based on a particular Spaniards perhaps experience in seeing Chamorros, interacting with them when when a ship stopped in Guam, but it was also based on a number of stories of ships that stopped. And so one of them was just this idea that Chamorros were very adept at jumping and diving into the water and picking up stray pieces of metal. And so that's why amongst sort of the in the image you see Chamorros trading, but then the artist put that in too, that one Chamorro is definitely diving in to catch the stray pieces of metal.
Oh, okay. So this is trade. Oh, now I get it. So yeah, you could see we're offering fish, offering
Mhm.
presumably other types of food, maybe coconut milk or coconut oil. Yeah,
Oh
so we're
yes, so
holding those up
oh
and
yes, because
okay.
oh yes, by this time, so this representation is considered to be an improvement compared to earlier representations in which the people who drew them were simply just reading an account and then just using their own prejudices. And so that's the one where like the canoes are just like some of them look like feeding troughs for animals. They don't look anything like boats. And the Chamorros, it's ridiculous. But this is the one where it gets closer. It gets closer. It's still problematic, but at least the sails are woven, and at
Yeah.
least they kind of look like triangles a little bit. But the elements of it, like so, but you could tell that somebody who was there was perhaps sharing details, because Chamorros would put things on baskets and then send it up, or there was ropes that they would send things on because they did not trust the Spaniards to get on the boats anymore, and the Spaniards did not want the Chamorros on their ships anymore
Mhm.
because the Spaniards had a habit of taking the Chamorros, capturing them, enslaving them, and so, making them work in their boats. But in all of this, though, the one I love the guy that's diving because it was such a common thing. And so that's why, even though the focus is on the exchange, this one guy who's the diver ends up in there because it was also something that was so frequent that because you may have had Spaniards who are like, ha ha ha, you stupid savage, and then they just like throw a piece of metal into the water and then dive for that. And then like Chamorros are like diving into the water and like finding it and then holding it up and saying, "Ha, got it. Thank you." But
Well,
anyways, so
yeah.
but oh, so we've got some more people that are tuning in, and we do have a comment. Let me just share it real fast. And so this is from Michael Orr. He says, "Great job, Farron, for leading the charge and bringing this info to the community in an accessible way. To the question of tracking spearfishing related deaths, the medical community classifies drownings for most water related deaths, but don't often differentiate between the specific activities. Therefore, tracking spearfishing deaths specifically has solely been up to the fishing community to remember." Sidus Masi Michael for that clarification.
That's where that number comes from, him right there, Michael Orr. That's his he's been keeping track since he's gotten to Guam, and so it's been 29 spearfishing or spearfisher fatalities in the last 8 years in the Marianas, not just Guam, but yeah, in the Marianas. But yeah, I think I got a nice segue from our traditional bit there to where we could go next. So when I was the series of videos all feature a reputable spearfisher, someone from the community and or medical professional. And so that keys us up right to si Ronald Laguatnio,
Ron?
and I messaged him asking if he'd be willing to come on a video with me to talk about this, and his part was so easy to write. So ultimately, everything I do write, I try to make it for clarity and for shortness, so the videos aren't 30 minutes long each. They're all 2 minutes, and we had a great phone call. He's like, yeah, man, back in my day, we used to we went no shoot, no shirt, no shoes, and just rocks so we could sink. And then the technology was improving, and he started improving, and so it was a lot of fun to work with him on it. And he agreed to do a video with me about properly weighting yourself. So a lot of people don't know how much weight is too much, how much weight is too little. And this video goes right into that. We can play it if you want, or I can just explain it, and it's all good.
Let's play it.
Let it roll.
Some spearfishers like to go heavy and take a lot of weight so they can sink and stay down longer. It makes sense, but if you think about it, what happens when you have trouble? Let's say you're down for a while and you shoot a fish, but don't stone it. Now you have to fight the fish, fight all the extra lead on your belt to swim back up, and fight your low oxygenation from the long dive and hard work all at the same time. Any one, two, or especially all three of these things could cause you to black out when you otherwise wouldn't have. Instead of sinking with extra weight, it's much better to swim down with good technique, and if anything goes wrong, then you can have an easier time coming back up. So here's the tip. A properly weighted diver is neutrally buoyant at 30 to 33 feet and is able to breathe on the surface without having to kick to stay up. Don't prioritize going down easy, do prioritize coming up strong.
Back in the day, we've done it every kind of way. We've gone ancient style, no shirt, no weight. And then we even got wetsuits. We took bula weights so we can lay on the bottom. But what Farron says makes a lot of sense. If you work too hard to come back up and make yourself shallow, water blackout, then you're just going to sink back down and it's harder to rescue or recover you. In my time, we never had precise guidance like this. So now I'm glad we do.
So take just enough lead for neutral buoyancy at 30 to 33 feet deep or deeper and bring your buddy back alive. BYBBA!
Oh yeah, shout out to Joe Garrido for letting us use his music on that one. Yeah, and while the music was playing, there was some on-screen text on there as well, and basically show you the proper way to handle the slack on your weight belt. If you have a long tail, a lot of people like to tuck that tail into the belt, but it makes it harder to remove the belt in case you need to be rescued and remove it. And so if you just kind of fold the belt and tuck in a little bit of it and keep the tail free, then when you yank it, it still comes free, nice and quick release, and it's easier to rescue you. But yeah, so the message of that is how much lead to take. And just to repeat it, you want to weight yourself for neutral buoyancy at 30 to 33 feet. So you want to swim down to 30 feet, and then after that, you are able to kind of lay on the bottom or sink if you're going deeper. You could also take, not less than a full breath, although there's risks to that too, but that's personally that's the risk I'm comfortable taking. And so that's how you can just stay down a little bit easier. You are taking a little less oxygen, or a little less air, but you're able to relax better on the bottom and not have to fight to stay down. So the way I've seen this kind of be talked about is or at least the way it works in my mind is you have two priorities, and you have to choose one or the other. Is it safety first or is it fish first? So in my opinion, maybe you're not so humble, so sorry. If it's safety first, you're going to want to prioritize having an easy time coming back to the surface, right? Ideally, you float on an exhale when you're on the surface, so that even if you were to have hypoxia on the way up, your positive buoyancy would take you back up to the surface, and then you would remain there. If you're overweighted, then you're just going to sink back down, and it becomes harder to find you, to rescue you if there's still time, or recover you if you're out of time. And so if it's fish first, if fish is the priority, and you do want to take that extra lead, I mean, you can, mitigate the risks on that by having shorter dive times, maybe having your belt partially removed. I've heard of some people doing that. And then if thing does go wrong, the belt falls off. But part of the problem with this is you're having to trust that you will be of sound mind to make decisions like that. And when you're hypoxic, you're not of sound mind, and you might not even know it. You might be hypoxic and you can't actually feel it until you're closer to the surface. And so for me, to optimize safety, maybe make it a little harder to fish, but to optimize safety, it's you want to take proper weight. That's where I'm at with it.
Oh, sedus masi. No, I liked I really liked the way that Zawi sinanganya si Senior Ron. I like that back in my day, ancient style, Taguinins and Naguini. I like that. It's and I like so far, we've watched 2 of the videos. You have 12 total for each of the different sort of steps in your water safety system. But I really like the way though, and because this is this is something that a lot of water safe, or excuse me, a lot of community outreach, or I guess public sort of safety stuff, sometimes it misses the mark because it's very much top down. It kind of like a bunch of people that are a bunch of people from who knows where came up with something, and then they put it out, and then people are like, oh, what is this? Hafesti? Where did this come from? Who are these people?
Yeah.
And so it feels, even if it might be well intended, even if it might be good in some ways, it just feels very disconnected. I mean, maybe Chat GPT wrote this, or maybe a bunch of people, like 13,000 miles away in Washington, D.C. wrote this, or who knows, like, where does this come from? And so what I'm really liking though, from your video so far is that, these ideas, as you've said, they come from many places, but that you're also connecting with the spearfishing community to talk about. So and that's very, very important, when you're trying to reach the community, first of all, because I think one fisher basically in one of the comments that was made on one of the live streams said, for the young people, this is essential for the young people, that they need to learn stuff like this so that they don't think that the heaviest weight means that they're the best fisher or something like that, or because we don't want them getting hurt and stuff like that, and so it's good then to connect one generation to the next. It's an important part of community transmission of knowledge, and so I'm really liking that aspect to how you're sharing these.
Yeah, and in case it maybe if people didn't know the backstory, this might seem like this top down, or maybe Farron Guam guy outward kind of projection or project, but this comes straight from the community. This comes straight from that fated Zoom call we had. We took notes on the topics of the conversation, and I just kind of reorganized it so that I can present the information in a digestible, easy to understand way. But again, almost nothing I say is an original thought from me. It's this is stuff coming straight from the community of Guam and of community of spearfishers internationally, and so it's kind of a summation of the advice that's being proffered locally and internationally. And so I'm very excited to finally be getting them out.
BYBBA. And so one question that I have is, the video that comes after each of the tips, is that like you fishing? That's your video of when you're okay.
Yeah, so any POV shots is me fishing. And so I think if people already are familiar with me, I'm known as a free diver, not as a spearfisher. And so I shot those hoping to convey the message that, you know, I still have a lot to learn. I've obviously have all the diving skills down, but I'm still humbled every time I go out with a real spearfisher that's done it since they were kids and they have all this knowledge. It's still mind blowing. Like there's guys who know like 3, 4, 5 different kinds of grunts or sound to make to attract different species of fish, or you know, scratching the rocks or throwing up sand. And I'm still learning all of the hunting side of spearfishing. And it's amazing to share knowledge with these people. Like, hey, I noticed you're kicking this way. Have you tried it this way? Or hey, I noticed this thing with your technique or how you do the buddy system. That looks cool to me. Or like, have you tried this way? And or what do you think about this? Or have you ever practiced a blackout rescue? And a lot of the time it's like, I haven't had to. I've done it for real. I'm like, okay, nice. And some people are like, no, never practiced a blackout rescue. And so that's definitely one of the, I haven't released a video yet. That's in a couple of weeks. But one of the tips I offer is, you know, just do a practice session, just do a trial run. It's like, okay, let's just go down to 15, 20 feet together. Let's say someone blacked out on the way up. What are you going to do about it? You know, and how are you gonna go about it? Obviously, you want to bring them up, but while you're on the way up, there's things you want to do, like controlling the airway. So you want to cover, there's already a mask covering the nose, but you want to cover the mouth to prevent water from getting in the mouth and then can, you know, go down into the lungs. And so there's the series there's like 3 videos about hypoxia, recognition of the problems and how to go about a rescue, whether it's on the surface or whether it's underwater. And so yeah, it's going great. I'm looking forward to this advice spreading. I know there's a couple things that I wanted to talk about. The name, I got to give credit where that's due. I almost forgot. BYBBA, bring your buddy back alive. And this came from Ronald LaGuardia the second, or junior, or maybe he's the third. I'm not sure how many of them there are, but the the one who's about my age. During that phone call, that Zoom call, he was talking about his mentor who took him out. I'm going to paraphrase the story because again, it was years ago, but he said, it's like, yeah, I want to learn freediving. I want to learn spearfishing the right way. And then the mentor goes, all right, I'll take you out. But if you're gonna do this, we're gonna do this the right way. I'm going to teach you and I'm going to bring you back alive. And when I heard that, I'm like, man, that sounds kind of corny. But then I thought about it, like, man, those are powerful words to say to someone when you're venturing into the ocean where arguably your life is always on the line, right? I mean, I don't want to hype things up, but you know, Mother Nature is her own thing, and we got to humble ourselves before her, right? And all best we can do is arm ourselves with knowledge and wisdom. And telling someone I'm going to bring you back alive, that struck with me, and I wrote it down, and then it made a bring you back alive. That's almost the acronym already. I just slightly changed it to bring your buddy back alive. So that's where that name came from, and it's been working really well.
BYBBA. I know it's appropriate that we keep saying BYBBA. Hunggan. You're getting a lot of nice comments. We've got people that are saying, oh, what's it called? Sitori Manley is saying, BYBBA, Guam guy, thank you for the information. We've got people on, we've got one comment on the Instagram that is on the Instagram live stream that is saying, this is so cool. What you're doing is actually helping us create new culture. And I find that to be a very fascinating perspective, helping to create a new culture. And I mean, I love that idea too, because I think in the past, you know, a lot of Chamorro perspective, and not just Chamorros, but for Indigenous people, because of our experiences with how we interact with Western ideas, how we interact with science, and all of these regimes of knowledge, we get used to thinking that we have to be against them because they tend to take things or they tend to define us negatively. And so now we can kind of find ways to adapt them to us, find ways to learn, you know, use their models, use things from them to serve our needs. And so, and that can lead then to new cultural dynamics, new cultural traditions, and new ways that we can educate ourselves, you know, educate our youth. And that's another, Actually, that's another comment that we have. Kevin Camacho, who's watching from Texas. He says, oh wait, Nangamangidzo your comment.
What
If we're
time is it
looking
in Texas?
It is Kia ora, Gweno, Kevin. He says, great work, Farron. Oh, great work, Farron is doing a great example for our youth. He is, oh, Eleknya, in him, the force is strong. You have a Jedi seal of approval.
Okay, thanks.
Or a Sith. Or a Sith. I don't know which side you or
I like the gray ones.
there you go. Plenty of you might be great. I'm good. And so do you want
Yeah,
to do you want
you
do
had
you want to
a
check out one more video or
let's just keep going for a little bit. So what do you call it? We had you had a comment saying that the youth needs to know this, the younger ones need to know this, and you know I agree. I think I haven't kept track of ages, but they do seem to tend to be on the younger side. I think the older ones, as we become more mature, kind of are like, man, like I don't know how I'm still alive today. Like, you know, all the stuff I pulled in my teens and my 20s, that applies to me as well. I'm like, man, like I definitely took some risks that I didn't know was as risky as they were. And so now that is I've matured, I'm like, all right, I'm not doing that anymore. Or I can do it, but I'm gonna do it a different way. I'm gonna do it a safer way, or I'm gonna do it slower or whatever. And so dads, moms, aunties, uncles, if you don't know this stuff, your kids probably don't know. So I ask you, please take 2 minutes a week to watch the video I put out. You know, talk about it with your kids, nephews, nieces, whatever. And you know, I'm not asking for universal agreement. You know, there's definitely it's not a perfect situation. It's not even a complete system. It's 12 2-minute videos, but it establishes a baseline that I think we can all operate from or deviate from, you know, if you have other ways of managing and mitigating risks. But yeah, dads, moms, aunties, uncles, please give it your time if you can, and talk about it with your kids, because you know a lot of the stuff that that we put together in the advice that we're offering isn't super widely known. I'll give another example. We already played the video about the buddy system. And it says to watch your diver for a good 30 seconds to a minute after surfacing. And the reason for this is because when you come up, right, you're breathing again, right? But it takes time for the brand new air that you just inhaled to circulate through your body and to your brain. And so during that time, your oxygenation continues to decline. So people can have hypoxic fit or a blackout, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 seconds, maybe up to a minute, depending if it's a really stressful dive, they can black out, like, and have a delayed effect after surfacing. You might make eye contact. You might flash the okay sign. You might even start talking. And during that time, your oxygenation is continuing to decline. And it can take, I've seen it take almost a minute for divers to recover with my own students. We do experiments. And I'll take out a pulse oximeter. I think everybody knows what those are now by now. They go on your finger. It tells you how much oxygen's in your system. And I've done experiments with my students, and I've seen it take like over 50 seconds for some people for their oxygenation to recover. So it's not enough to wait for them to surface. You got to watch them on the surface for, especially if it's a big dive or a stressful dive or they had to fight a fish. And especially if they're overweight and they have to fight all the extra lead on the belt, fight their negative buoyancy to get back to the surface. And so if you didn't know that, please share with your kids. This is something that this one particular thing, you know, among a handful of others in the series of videos could save lives. So even if you have a buddy system, you have to practice it, be active in that buddy system before the dive, during the dive, and throughout the entire session in the water.
No, BYBBA, that's a very good point. It has been a while since I was actively spearfishing, and we did not practice that at all. Nope. Oh my goodness. I feel lucky to be alive now thinking about all these things.
And you know, maybe you've been at it for, you know, all your life or whatever number of months or years, and you never had a problem. So why does anything needs to change? Well, I mean, I think it's like gambling with reverse odds. It's like, you know, when you go to the casino, you expect to lose. And when you go into the water, most of the time, you know, nothing's gonna go wrong. But just that one time, all it takes is that one time, and you win the unfortunate lottery, right? And so, oh, and so it's just about being vigilant and, you know, looking out for each other. And arguably, you can catch more fish if you. I feel, you know, I don't go alone. I don't even go swimming alone, honestly. I've seen enough things happen, whether it's my own students and we're practicing things under controlled conditions, or just I come across strangers in the water and I have to pull them out of the water or whatever. And so, you know, you might be good, you might be the most amazing spearfisher or freediver, but you know, all of us are nothing compared to the ocean, not to Mother Nature, and it's just about, you know, maintaining a humble mindset. But yeah, sorry, if you want to play another video, let's go for it.
No, that's an important. Now, thank you for that. I mean, I think that's an important that what you just shared there is a really important, simple, profound thing that we need to remember nowadays. In, you know, especially in the world where you know, we have an increasing amount of billionaires, we have AI, you know, running amok in our lives, and we've got, you know, basically the promise of everything at our fingertips and so on, and we still there's all of this promise of like humans, you know, and potential and stuff, and we forget that all of that, you know, that doesn't really matter though when faced with sort of nature in so many ways. Like, nature doesn't give a crap about a lot of that. Nature's got its own things to do. It's got its own schedule. It's got its own plans. And so like you may have like you may have all the Bitcoin, but you know, the ocean can mess that up for you.
Yeah,
If you
and I have long hair. It's been tangled in coral a couple of times, and you know, lucky we always keep our knives on us, right, to brain the fish or whatever, and whatever, dispatch a fish. But you know, a fish, you shoot it the wrong way or it goes the wrong way, it could, you know, wrap itself around your leg, or it might get hooked on your weight belt or your snorkel and rip your mask off with the shooting line. So yeah, it's more than just hypoxia, as my friend and spearfishing buddy Rob John Koss would put it. You know, it's more than blackouts can kill you out there, and having a buddy is the supreme way to manage an emergency you can't imagine yourself, when you cannot save yourself, and that's why it's number one. Oh, before we run out of time, let me talk about the shirts.
Yes, por favor,
Yeah.
please do.
All right, so I've been talking about these videos, right? But I also got these shirts. I got 200 of these printed. You can see all the containers in my very messy home office room background. There's the snake hotel right there if anybody follows my snake videos. So there's one snake in there. And but let's not go down that rabbit hole. So I got these custom-made shirts. I had hired a local artist, graphic designer, Chamorro Girl. So she drew this up. We got the sleeve. The sleeve has this ruler, inches and centimeters, so you can meet your catch. That's one of our traditional practices, right? We don't want to take the fish that's too small. On the front might be my whole favorite thing of this campaign. I know I got life-saving knowledge and advice coming out, but this is a pocket. So my vendor, Digital Lab 671, he couldn't make a loading pad, so he couldn't get some foam or cushion to put it on the chest. I asked him, hey, his name said, can you make pockets though? He's like, yeah, okay, make me pockets in the shape of a Zori. He's like, why? So we can fold our Zori and put it in there, so when you load up the rubbers on your gun, it's super comfortable. And so some people put their Zoris inside their wetsuit, but it's hot, so not of us, all not like me, I don't like wearing wetsuit. And so you can put your Zori in there, and it's super comfortable. The back has got all the 12 tips for safer spearfishing, safer diving, and it's reversible with the inside, or if you flip it out, has all the same logos and tips. It's a fluorescent bright orange. It's actually a little hard to see it on the computer because it's so reflective. And so if you're ever blown out to sea or current takes you out, it's going to be a lot easier for the boat or helicopter to find and rescue you. And you know, sometimes that happens. I've had a couple of friends who got lost and required HSC 25, the helicopter squadron, to pick them up. And so these are the shirts, and I'm giving them away for free. Once again, they're totally free. Just go watch my videos. They come out on Mondays on Instagram in the morning, and all you got to read the descriptions, but I'll just say it now. Just tag just leave a comment, tag your spearfishing buddy. It'll be a random selection, and if you win, you both get shirts. That's how I like to roll. I don't like those giveaways like tag 5 people and one of you gets a shirt. I'm like, nah, just tag one person, you both get a shirt. You know, this is about the buddy system. So you and your buddy both get a shirt. I'm not wearing it now because it's a double wall rash guard, so it's actually pretty warm outside the water, but in the water they're nice.
Oh, BYBBA. No,
BYBBA.
Sidus Masian. Just as a reminder, so the way that you can get them, right, is by commenting on your posts, right? That's one of the main
guy
giving them away, right? At the Guam guy. Okay, so I'm gonna post it up once again. I'm gonna throw this up once again. So remember the Guam guy here on Instagram. I posted the link on the live stream, so check it out. Check it out here.
And I started another account at BYBBA Official.
Oh, really?
So it's this one. It's the same exact content. It's just focused on this. So if you don't want to watch anything about snake swimming or giant clams or cleanups, if you just want to go straight to just this, the videos for this campaign, there's a dedicated account for that, and it's at BYBBA Official. And when the project is done, I'll put everything on YouTube as well.
Okay. Oh, nice. But be sure to check this out. Oh my goodness. Okay. So let's why don't we we'll watch one more video and then give you a chance to share some final thoughts before we'll close out the episode. All right, here we go.
Okay.
Let me we'll do this one. Here we go. Make sure the audio is there. Here we go.
Hafide Guam. Some people think hyperventilating gives you a lot more oxygen, but if you're healthy, then you're already fully oxygenated just by breathing normally. What really happens is hyperventilating hijacks your blood chemistry and lowers your CO2. This is important because when you hold your breath, the urge to breathe is mostly triggered by increasing CO2, and that's why some people feel like they can hold their breath longer if they hyperventilate. The danger is it becomes more likely to do a dive and black out without ever having felt a problem was coming. CO2 and the urge to breathe is our body's natural survival mechanism, so instead of trying to trick your body, learn to better understand it.
Working in healthcare, I see a lot of patients with hypoxia from chronic conditions or acute events. But as a spearfisher, I see how hypoxia is almost always avoidable. The human body is resilient and does everything it can to keep us alive. But hyperventilating interferes with that by increasing heart rate, increasing oxygen consumption, delaying urge to breathe, and the list goes on.
Also, when you come up from a dive, try to avoid blast clearing your snorkel or even just forcefully exhaling, because if you're riding the line between being okay or not, doing these things can actually push you over the edge and cause you to be hypoxic. At the end of a dive, you have lower oxygenation, of course, and higher CO2. So you can do something we call recovery breathing to get back to normal. Hard inhale, short pause, passive exhale, and repeat that a few times. So help your body by recovery breathing after a dive, avoid hyperventilating before you dive, and bring your buddy back alive. BYBBA!
The water wiggly shines with blissful needs, and now's your chance to take the remedy. Cleanse your vessel with righteousness, a permanent availability.
Hafide Guam.
All right. So anything that you want to add about that video, and then a chance for you to close out with some final thoughts for the episode.
Sure. Yeah. So that one was about correct breathing. Some people, I'm told, still kind of do like heavy hyperventilation. This alone could be a cause of hypoxia when you wouldn't have been if you had just not hyperventilated. And so we can go a lot deeper into that, but I think we're out of time. So yeah, if you like what you're seeing or like what you're hearing, you want to know more, please do get in touch. And I just ask you everyone listening, send every video I put out to every spearfisher you know. I don't care about the views. It's really just about saving knowledge. I mean, life-saving knowledge, and to try to fill in some gaps that the maybe the older spearfishing community and myself have noticed. So this is a lot of basic information that just I think we lost. I think I believe we knew most, if not all of the stuff, maybe a lot more before the Spanish came and before colonization. So we can absolutely be on the water, and we can be a lot safer out there if we can all be on the same page about a handful of things. And I think the videos that we've come up with is more than a good enough place to start.
BYBBA. Again, electa BYBBA megana biyahe. We said BYBBA a lot in this episode, but we said it for multiple reasons. And that's beautiful. Bonito now. And so Farron, si Diyos Masinay, thank you so much. Put totally bidadamo. We had a bunch of people thanking you for all that you're doing in the community, not just around this, but around the other things that you do in the community. And so, good luck on this campaign. I think it's fun. I think it's fun the way that you're doing it. And I think it's effective the way that you're reaching the community, especially younger people where they're at, where they're more likely to see things, see this type of content, because it's one thing to have community meetings in like a senior center or something like that, and you'll reach some parts of the population. But if you really want to try to reach, younger fishers, to get them to learn some of these tips when they're young and then have them for the rest of their lives, then hopefully you're gonna, get them on social media, get them some merch, and then it increases the chance that they're gonna take them seriously. It's gonna be part of how they're gonna fish for the rest of their lives. And so I think it's a great campaign, and I'm very, very excited for it.
Thank you. Do we have one more minute, or do you got to wrap up?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I got to tell a story I tell about you, actually, or partly inspired by you. So you give speeches, to various groups. I give talks to various groups and whatever, and you talk about, who knew that our phones would be such a big part of our lives, that a trip to the bathroom that should take 5 minutes takes 15, 20, 30 minutes. Like I'm paraphrasing you. And so I like to repeat that. It's like, part of the reason I'm doing these videos is because we got to reach people where they're at, right? And where they're at is on their phones. And oftentimes they're on their phones and in the bathroom. So I think as we communicate information, we have to take a common sense approach to how we communicate information to the public.
No. Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Oh my goodness.
I'm not a big fan of puns, but that one I'm gonna totally own it.
Oh, I love that. I'm gonna vote for you. I'm voting for you. I'm writing you in for the next election. Okay. for natural resources manager. I don't know. for spear diver in chief. Si Diyos masi no hamzo todos por eneega kung question episode. Adios. Esta aquí manatli hit